Hi, I'm Frankie. Today, I would like to deliver a short presentation on how to successfully pioneer the practice of knowledge management in a critical function or project team to achieve breakthrough performance. Now, I'm sure you would find the content of this presentation extremely useful to you. To begin with, what I will do is I will offer you a working definition of what the practice of knowledge management, or POKM in short, is all about. First, POKM is about developing, number one, 8 highly focused capabilities. Number 2, enabled by knowledge tools. Number 3, to systematically manage critical knowledge. Number 4, giving rise to breakthrough performance. And finally, guided by an implementation action plan. Based on this working definition, the 8 highly focused capabilities are as follows. Number 1, knowledge identification. Number 2, knowledge acquisition. Number 3, knowledge application. Number 4, knowledge sharing. Number 5, knowledge development. Number 6, knowledge innovation. Number 7, knowledge preservation. And finally, knowledge measurement. Now, these are the 8 highly focused capabilities that we talk about. And on this side, these are the 7 knowledge tools that are used to enable the practices that are mentioned over here. So at this point, perhaps what I will do is, I will now highlight to you the 9 key steps that are required to successfully pioneer the practice of knowledge management in your critical function or in your project team. Alright, let's look at the first. The first key step, identify a critical function. Let me elaborate. For instance, if yours is a sales-driven organization and that you depend heavily on the corporate sales department to drive sales and to drive revenue, then of course, in this case, we can therefore say that the corporate sales department would be your critical function. On the other hand, yours could be a service-driven organization and you place major emphasis with regard to frontline customer service, or for the matter, after sales service to drive the organization. So naturally, your critical function would potentially be the customer service department. Or on the other hand, yours could be a manufacturing organization. So in this context, most likely, your critical functions would include your production department, your operations department, logistics, technical, and even engineering department for that matter. And finally, of course, if your organization is a projects-driven organization, like in the case of construction company, property developers, or even IT system integrators, they rely heavily on projects to drive revenue. So in this context, your project management department would most likely be your critical function. So step 1, identify a critical function to pioneer POKM. Step 2, once the function is identified, step 2 is to establish specific goals, which means goals must be measurable, quantifiable. Now, for instance, if yours, in the case I described earlier on, yours is a sales-driven organization, then your corporate sales goals may include: 1. To achieve X amount of sales revenue, perhaps for next year. To acquire 5 key accounts for next year. To maintain 80% of our current key accounts in the organization, or even to launch 3 new products for the following year. Alright, now, so this could be the goals that we talk about in the context of a corporate sales department or function. On the other hand, in the case of, let's say, a customer service department, then your goals could be, for instance, number 1, to reduce response time from the current practice of 1 day to 4 hours, or to be able to provide highly consistent solutions to customer, ensuring 0 error in response. Or for the matter, in manufacturing, your production department may talk about goals like to achieve X amount of units next year in production, or to reduce the production cost by 20% next year. Or finally, in the case of projects, and yours is a project management team, and henceforth, potentially your goals could be, first, to ensure all projects, 100% of all projects will be completed ahead of schedule, at least 1 month ahead of schedule. And even for the matter, number 2, to ensure that we can reduce our project costs by, let's say, 10%. So, in other words, step 1, identify the critical function. Step 2, once the function is identified, then clearly establish measurable goals. Now, goals do not fail. It is the person that lacks critical knowledge that fails to achieve the goal. So in this context, the practice of knowledge management is really about managing, organizing critical knowledge needed or required to successfully achieve and exceed your departmental goals. That's the whole idea. Now then comes step 3. When it comes to step 3, we ask this question. Now, in this context, now that we decided the function, we have decided on the goals, then we ask ourselves, who would be the people in the department that must be involved so that the goals will be achieved? Let me give you 2 separate illustrations. For instance, in the case of a sales department, and in this whole department we have 6 staff. You have the head of sales, the assistant manager, some sales executive, sales coordinator. Upon analyzing, we say all the 6 people must be involved in order that we can ensure that the sales goals will be achieved. So therefore, in this situation, we can safely say that these 6 people who are the 6 members of the department will also be the 6 members of this practicing community, which means these are the 6 members that will start to initiate, kickstart the practice of knowledge management. On the other side, you could have a production department having, let's say, 50 people, and of which 40 over of them are production workers, production operators. Then we say, alright, so in this case, we do not want these 40-odd production operators to be involved in the early initiation of the project, or of this journey, to be more correct. So in this context, what happened is this. Then we say, okay, above, one level above the production operators, who do we have? We have, let's say, 5 team leaders. That's great. And above the team leaders, we have 2 supervisors. And then above this person, we have a production manager. So therefore, we have 5 plus 2, 7 plus 1, 8. So in this context, we will therefore say, we will identify and select these 8 out of the 50 staff in this production department to be the early adopters of the practice of knowledge management. So henceforth, the department has 50 staff, but the number of PC members in this case would be 8. So 8 will be a subset of the entire department. So henceforth, step 3 is to determine the number, determine who are the PC members or the practicing community members to initiate the POKM journey. Alright? As a rule, a recommendation will always be to kickstart your journey with minimum of 3 to 5 members to an ideal of 10 to 12 members. Alright, now next. So once we have covered step 3, we go to step 4. What is step 4? Now that we know who are the PC members, the next level is to equip the PC members with reasonable level of knowledge relating to the practice of knowledge management. And we call this facilitation of the POKM familiarization session. In this session, they will have to acquire knowledge relating to these 8 highly focused capabilities. Then, of course, they must have knowledge of these 7 knowledge tools that can be used to enable the practice of knowledge management. So, at the end of step number 4, after going through this session called familiarization session, then they will reach a certain level of knowledge equilibrium among themselves. Alright, now, so what happens next? The next step is step number 5. The next step will be to select. To select POKM focus. What does this mean? It means this. Yes, there are 8 key focus here. However, to pioneer the practice, I would always recommend the PC members to select 3 out of the 8 listed here. In other words, we do not have to go in to put all the 8 areas of focus in place immediately. We will have to select 3 out of 8 for the early applications. Now let me provide you an illustration. For instance, in the case of the sales team, or even the customer service team, or the project team, or the production team I talked about just now. Alright, now. So imagine that majority of the members in this PC, majority of them have averagely 10 to 15 years experience working in their present capacity. So in this context, therefore I would say, great, to initiate the practice, I would recommend to achieve their specific goals to focus on, let's say, number 4, knowledge sharing. Number 6, knowledge innovation. And number 7, knowledge preservation. Now why? Because these guys have good level of knowledge. They do have their own best practices, they do have their own lessons learned, etc. So in order that the team can achieve the PC goal or the functions goal, you will want to ensure that all the critical knowledge that are currently stored fragmentedly in the heads of the individuals, they can be organized together, systematically consolidated and integrated so that every single member of this team can have easy access to this. So in other words, we will recommend to look into the practice of knowledge sharing. There are rules, of course, to be put in place. Then recommend them to develop skills, not only to share, but to challenge each other's idea and to focus on significant dramatic improvement and innovation. And when a lot of sharing takes place, lots of innovative ideas are generated through the process of collaboration and challenging of ideas, then they must also have the habits of preserving and capturing all these knowledge that they pioneer, so that it can be reused, so that they don't have to reinvent, so that if someone leaves the function or the PC, they won't just take away and walk away with those knowledge. So henceforth, we will recommend that to achieve the departmental goal in this case, let's leverage not only on the critical knowledge of an individual, but also learn to have the ability to leverage on the collective critical knowledge of all the team members. So therefore, this is what it means, are able to select the focus directly linked to achieving the goals to finally attain breakthrough performance. Alright, that's step 5, selecting POKM focus. Number 6, once the focus, in this case here, once all the 3 areas are selected, then to enable, to sustain this practice, we will then look at selecting the knowledge tools. Obviously, there are unlimited knowledge tools, and potentially in this case, they can use, for instance, the lessons learned directory, the best practices directory, the frequently occurring issues directory, and a range of them to enable the practice. So what happens is selecting these knowledge tools to enable the selected focus to be applied effectively. And next, what happens? After step number 6 comes step number 7. Now step 7 is selecting or setting measurement indicators. We want to ensure that objectively there is a relationship between systematically managing critical knowledge on one side and achieving real, sustainable breakthrough performance relating to departmental goals. So because of that, we set 2 levels of measurement indicator. Level 1 got to do with progress indicators. Now level 2 relates to impact indicators. So examples of progress indicators would include, for instance, after 6 months initiating the practice of knowledge management, how many lessons learned have we captured, have we distributed, have we adopted, have we reviewed, etc. So in other words, day 1 we have 0. We have 0 lessons learned. And then 6 months later, we have, let's suppose, 100 lessons learned. And these lessons learned are developed based on mistakes made. It's like translating mistakes into lessons learned. They are captured, then they are adopted by team members after being distributed, then we review the effectiveness. So in this context, the point is this: the progress indicators measure or quantify critical knowledge. So from day 1 is 0, 6 months later we have 100, we have 120 sets of lessons learned. That's a progress indicator. Next, as a direct impact, as a direct result of implementing, or first capturing, adopting, or distributing, adopting, and implementing these lessons learned, as a direct result of implementing these lessons learned, what is the impact it has on the impact indicators, that is specifically departmental goals. So then we say, on this side, the number of lessons learned increase. So as a direct result, is there a decrease in terms of repeated mistakes? Is there a decrease in terms of cost of operation? So we have to come up with this equation, because only when we can prove that increasing efforts to capture, increasing efforts to organize all this critical knowledge, it can give rise directly to achieving operational excellence, to achieving an increase in customer responsiveness, etc. Then only we'll be able to prove that systematically managing critical knowledge indeed give rise to breakthrough performance. So therefore, step number 7 is critical. It measures the real impact on the practice of knowledge management, on achieving goals and driving breakthrough performance. Alright, now finally what happens? Step 1, right until step number 7, all the work that we have done here are now put into step number 8. Step 8 is known as preparing the implementation action plan. So as a general rule, I would recommend that the PC would prepare a 3 to a maximum not more than 6 months implementation action plan to kickstart, to springboard this particular journey. Alright? And this plan is exceptionally important because it provides very clear guideline, very clear direction for all the members in the PC to embrace progressively the practice of knowledge management. And of course, finally, what happens? On a periodic basis, and I recommend initially monthly and later quarterly. So I will recommend them on a monthly basis and then, or later as I indicated earlier on a quarterly basis to conduct review, because we want to find out whether are we on track embracing this practice or are we not. If we are not, what are we doing about it? Alright, so henceforth, these are the nine key steps required to successfully pioneer the practice of knowledge management in your critical function or in your project team to enable you to directly achieve your breakthrough performance. Alright now, so question, what is next? And the answer is this. If you are, number 1, the head of company, or for the matter, the head of human capital, or the head of a critical function, and you are really seriously interested to achieve breakthrough performance for certain critical functions and project teams, and you believe that systematically managing critical knowledge in this economy, in these highly challenging times, you believe that this is really important, then I would recommend you to nominate a team of minimum 3 to 5 talents from a critical function or a project team to participate in my one-day customized public program. Now it is called customized public program because the word customized means when your, for example, 5 talents from the same function or from the same team when they all come to my program. Customized means I will be taking this whole day focusing on only coaching these 5 talents. And all the illustrations, all the examples will be customized to that function only. And of course, that industry for the matter. Why public program? Because we are inviting these 5 talents to come to this very center to go through this one-day learning journey. Because we have the facilities here to support and drive this one-day coaching session for your talents. That's why we call this one-day customized public program. Alright, so how can we make it happen? Step 1, on your end. Of course, on your end, step 1 will be done by you. You will identify a critical function. And step 2, then you must be clear about the specific goals that you want to achieve. Then step 3, you determine who are the members or the talents that must be involved to make these goals happen. So step 1, step 2, step 3 will be done by your end before the talents come to this one-day customized public program. Of course, on my side, I will seek clarification before we start the journey by asking you first, what really are the specific goals? Let's talk about it so that I can understand it better. Then let's talk about your PC members, their key result areas, their key performance indicators. Right now, so homework must be done on my side too. Alright, so after step 1, 2, 3, completed. So I put a line here to indicate that step 1, 2, 3 will be done on your side. Then, in this situation, for instance, your 5 talents come in to the program and start the learning journey. On my end, from 9 o'clock right until 1 o'clock, the first 4 hours of that learning journey, of that coaching session, I will focus on achieving the next 4 steps. Step 4, step 5, step 6, and step number 7, which means I will offer all these 5 talents of yours, familiarization on what is the practice of KM all about. And it will cover, obviously, the 8 highly focused capabilities, all the 7 tools here, and how we link systematically managing critical knowledge to achieving breakthrough performance. Now, after I've gone through this, I will then go through with them. Step number 5. That's from 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock to assist the team members to select the most appropriate 3 major focus out of 8 with the purpose of achieving goals in mind. Alright? So, after that, we will also brainstorm, and at the same time, I will assist your team to select the most suitable knowledge tools. I will guide them how to fill up these tools, to prepare these tools, because templates are provided for them. Alright, and then finally, before 1 o'clock, I will then talk to them. I will then be able to guide them to establish both the progress indicators and of course the impact indicators. So in other words, step 4, step 5, step 6, step 7 completed by 1 o'clock. When they come back from lunch, about 2:15, right until 5 or 5:15, what happens next is this. We will provide time for your 5 talents, for instance, to prepare here what we call as the implementation action plan. They'll be required to prepare a 3 to 6 month implementation action plan, capturing all that we have talked about. Now, because on their side, if they do not get this plan ready here in the program, then when they go back, they will not have the time to do so. So it's compulsory. They must ensure that the implementation plan is fully prepared, capturing step 1 right until step number 7. And the last 1 hour of the coaching session, they'll be required to present this implementation action plan, because they must prove that indeed this plan can work. So after I've gone through it myself, provided all the feedback, some potential refinement, adjustment, etc., then we have the plan ready. Because our mindset is, we're not interested in an academic work assignment. We're interested 100% in a workable, practical action plan that can eventually drive breakthrough performance by managing the critical knowledge of the individual talents, by managing and organizing the critical knowledge collectively of all the talents in this case here. Alright, that's what we'll do. So, eventually presented, and by 5:15, okay, we are satisfied, the plan can work. So, by 5:15, we have achieved step number 8. Now they go back to the organization, to your company. And what happens? I will have a copy of the plan myself, and they have a copy themselves. So after 1 month of implementation, what we therefore recommend is for your team to send the results, alright, to me, so that I can review They have done the review. On my side, I can also review and provide feedback to your PC members, the 5 talents. I can provide feedback through email, telephone conferencing, or even if they want to, they come here, make an appointment with me on a face-to-face, no issue. Alright? My bottom line here is that on my side, would want to also assist in providing the feedback, because my bottom line, as your bottom line, would be making it work. And that's it. Alright? So this will give you a nutshell, a description of really what this one-day customized public program is all about. Because when they're here, the interference from work will be less. We have the facilities to actually enable them to focus, stay focused, to get things done, as we promised within this particular one-day session. Alright, now, so the next level would be, now, looking at this, let me highlight this to you. What I described to you so far will be relevant, number one, for all functions. In other words, I can add value directly. I can add direct value in terms of this content for any functions. For instance, if you get the sales functions, we will talk about developing an implementation action plan to achieve sales goals. If you talk about customer service, then again the same. We'll talk about an implementation action plan to achieve customer service goals. The same for production goals, for your project goals, technical, or any functions for the matter. And all this are 100% customized. And the title of the program that you'll be looking at would be, if it's a sales function, it will be how to successfully pioneer the practice of knowledge management in the sales function to achieve breakthrough sales performance. If it's a customer service function, then it would be how to successfully pioneer the practice of knowledge management in the customer service function to achieve breakthrough customer service level, and so forth. Alright, now next, organization. I can directly add value using this content to assist you to achieve breakthrough performance, irrespective of the size of your organization. For instance, one, yours could be an SME, a family-run or a family-owned organization. And we will customize our illustration to fit the needs of this group of organizations. Because I'm exceptionally clear. For SME, for family-run organizations, obviously, they'll be lacking many a times in terms of resources, difficulty to retain or even to recruit talents, challenges in terms of systems, etc. So every type of company sizes would have their respective challenges, and I'm pretty aware of that. So it can also be meant for number two, organizations that are mid-sized to larger organizations. Or number three, for holding or conglomerates that have many subsidiaries operating in numerous industry, related and non-related industry. Or it can be for global companies operating in Malaysia. And obviously for public listed companies, etc. So essentially, I can assist you to successfully pioneer this practice in all functions, in all organizations of all sizes. And of course, the final part, industry. Because your organization may be operating, let's suppose, in manufacturing, electronic, manufacturing, for example, automobile, etc. Or yours could be a company that focuses on projects, or a property developer, or a medical center for the matter here, or let's say a financial institution. And I'm clear that each of this industry have their own logic operating in that industry. Alright? So I will have done the homework before your company comes in, before the 5 talents from your company comes in. Now, why is it that I'm confident that I'm able to add direct value and to make it happen for you? The answer is very simple. I conceptualized this practice of knowledge management model in 1996, 20 years ago. And of course, over the last 20 years, I have done lots of innovation on this model. But most important is, within this time frame, the last 20 years, I have deployed, I have shared the practice of knowledge management, learning, coaching, consulting solutions to more than 1,000 organizations from 23 countries worldwide. So based on my experience in this area, this is my core expertise. And I can absolutely assure you that whatever I promise today, every single word I've said factually will happen. Because that's what I do, right, to make things happen. Alright now, so here we say functions, organization and industry. So in conclusion, if after going through this short sharing session and you believe that I can potentially add value to your organization, of course, I would like to invite you, right, to identify and to send the talents to this one-day customized public program that I've just described. And just reinforce, number one, this is the knowledge-based, innovation-driven economy. And that the way forward for organization to be winning competitive organizations are organizations having the strategic capabilities to manage their critical knowledge. Second, to remind you, there's a direct correlation between managing critical knowledge and achieving sustainable breakthrough performance. And of course, finally, if you're truly interested to be a highly differentiated organization with real distinctive competency, I can assure you that the strategic capabilities to manage critical knowledge is definitely the ultimate knowledge weapon of this economy. Alright? So with this is Frankie signing off. Most important, cheers and bye-bye. And see you very soon. Alright?